People, deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in, people. Now, we're half an hour earlier than I normally do. That's purely because later on, 2 o'clock, I'll be on Rance's channel like I am every Thursday with Matisse. We'll be speaking about football in general. But don't worry, I've got you lot covered. Obviously, we're here today. Hey, we're 20 seconds in and there's 12 of you locked in. I appreciate that. Please, can we get that to 12 likes? But yeah, I've got you lot, people. Later on today, I think I've scheduled a video to come out at 2 p.m. I think that one's in relation to Ibrahim Kanute, so I'm not going to speak about him. So I've chopped up a little bit there. I believe at 5 p.m. I know you've all seen a lot of rumors about Balogun and potentially how much he wants and things like that. There's a video coming out at 5 p.m. So I've got you lot covered. But right now, I want to talk about Burnley versus Arsenal. We're going to get into it in a sec, people, because I keep saying it. We're at a vital period in the season. You know, I don't need to bore you lot with the games that are coming. You know, we've got Olympiacos against across 2 legs. Arteta, based on how he's been speaking in the press, yes, we need to compete across both competitions. But the language he gives me and the rotation I see in what he's doing, he's already leaning towards the Europa League more. But I still think, if nothing more, we need to try and win games and obviously finish as high as possible. Like I said, we've got Olympiacos. We lost to Burnley in the last leg. We got Spurs after that, another team we lost to. We've got West Ham in form, and you've got Liverpool. So we're going to need the whole 25-man squad to stand up to be counted. You know, against Burnley, I said it last time, one positive among all the other positives, I wouldn't think one positive that goes over our head. And if it went another way, we would have said, not necessarily why he made 5 or 6 changes, but why would those 5 or 6 changes needed? And you didn't really see a drop off in quality. So that's what I mean. The games are coming thick and fast. I don't want to, you know, I am happy that we've had a bit of time off. As you've seen, Burnley played yesterday against Leicester. I'm sure you all saw the 1-1 draw. You know, Kelechi Iheanacho obviously struck after Burnley took the lead. So yeah, we've had a full week to prepare. We've had a full week to be rested. We know games are coming thick and fast. Saka didn't play against Leicester. Obviously, he's been training this week, but people have been able to save their legs. So I don't want to hear problems or excuses about a lack of intensity, fatigue, and all of these sort of things, people. It's a bit irrelevant. I don't want Burnley to do the double over us. I don't have much love for Burnley or Sean Dyche's team, really and truly. I kind of want them to get relegated, and I don't think that will happen, but we'll have to see. You know, if we're going to win any games, we need to take all 3 points against Burnley to give us a bit of insurance, as you lot know, going into the games against Spurs and so on and so forth, people. Where's my manners? I hope you're all doing well and safe within these opening 3 minutes. I see 33 of you locked in already. Please make sure you're hitting the like button. Twitch gang, you know I always have love for you. I hope everybody on Twitch is doing well and safe, people. So yeah, man, we're at 20 likes, 32 of you locked in. So, you know, there's a couple lazy people there, but it is what it is. We keep progressing. What are you lot saying? TB is saying it's a difficult game. Martinelli must start for you. I don't think it's a must start thing, but I wouldn't mind him starting at all. Josh is saying it's going to be tough, but surely we will get the 3 points. Easier said than done. You know, their form isn't the best. Last couple of games, excluding the Leicester one, Burnley have been putting in a couple good performances, but you know, they ain't won too many of recent. They're very much an open book. I feel they're the worst footballing side in the Premier League. You know what you're going to get with Burnley. Long ball central, you know, low block, having to break that down. We know what we're going into. Try and make the most of crosses and set pieces and hanging on the back post. Where did they win the game last time? You know, at the Emirates, we was, you know, down to 10 men after I think Xhaka got sent off in that game, rightly or wrongly. We let ourselves down via a set piece. So again, can you learn the lessons? Burnley are an open book. They don't have too much individual quality, but they maximize the things that they're good at. They'll exploit set pieces. They're a very street smart team. Chris Wood would be very street smart from set pieces and wide areas, and you know, winning the act as a target man and win the flick-ons and things like that. So is what it is. Ollie, I hope you're good. Big up Peter, like he said, big up everyone waiting for DG. Make sure you hit the like button on your way in. It's nice to see some of you are on that. Gunnar is just simply saying, let's smash up Burnley. It's as simple as that, you know. The best thing, that's all you can do, really and truly. And for me, we need to start building a bit of momentum going into games and showing that you can do this for a consistent period, because it's all fun and games doing it. Fair play, the Chelsea result was amazing, but then you played Brighton and West Brom, who were woeful at the time. You need to show me you can put a run of form together. You know, stop conceding early goals, stop conceding cheap goals, put some form together, and be well aware of the task you have at hand against Burnley, people. It's not rocket science, people. It really isn't. If I share my screen with you lot, people, I can delve further into it, people. You know, hey, you gotta be early, man. You gotta be early. Jay, I'm good, my guy, man. No, lovely to see the usuals and the members them locked in. Jaden, I see you as well. So yeah, in short, it's 10th versus 14th. You know, we shouldn't be 10th, or we should because we've been poor, but ideally you don't want to be 10th. They faced Leicester midweek, like I just said, they drew, and they come off the back of losing to Spurs 4-0. Now there's gonna be a reaction. I don't think it's gonna be the same team that Spurs got to play. I hope it is, but this is what I want to see. You look at the Spurs game. Spurs started off fast. They exploited wide areas. They pulled Burnley apart, really, because Burnley are going to be narrow. Whether you want to say it was Bale, Son, Moura, whoever, that's what we need to do. Like I said, and I'm going to keep saying it, we're going against a low block. So if we know we know Arsenal have had problems with that. We know exactly what we need to do. You don't shoot, you don't score. These are the sort of games where if you do not confuse possession with dominating the game, because these are them sort of games where you have 80% of the ball, 1,000 chances. Burnley will get one goal, one opportunity from a set piece, and scumbag a goal in, and it's 1-0. And what you don't want to do is go behind against a team like Burnley because it's long. When you think of Burnley, I'm trying to be respectful, but they're street smart. They're rigid. They have a game plan. They've got workhorses in the midfield, like you've seen Brownhill prior to Jack Cork coming back into the team was in the midfield, but they've got Jack Cork and them midfielders there who work very hard. If you look at Spurs, you know, Spurs made those midfielders run until they couldn't run anymore. So I do think if you watch the Spurs game, there's something there. If you go based off what you saw yesterday against Leicester, for me, there isn't too much to read that we don't already know. They're not the best of footballing sides in terms of technical quality. You know, they're quite boring to watch. They don't have many tricks to their trades, but they try and maximize what they can do, hitting wood and people like that, exploiting set pieces situations, you know. For us, we have Spurs next, people. You know, I don't need to tell you why the North London derby is a big game. And for us, in recent years, you know, let alone finishing ahead of Spurs, bucking them in game to game has been very tough for us. You know, forget that. It's part of a massive month, which is March. Like Arteta said, even on the best of days, we're going to struggle to qualify for Europe. We're relying on a lot. But go and show me you can at least fight and make it difficult for other people and at least have a goal in mind and try your best to collectively do it, because we haven't showed extended form all season, and I want to see it. I want to see you go into these 5 or 6 games in March with some credibility. Whether you win, lose or draw, there's not too much of a fluctuation in the level of performance. Personally, wants to reiterate, you know, based on being down to 10 men and a cheap goal conceded via a set piece, we lost at the Emirates. You know, we should be feeling refreshed because we've had a time off, and Burnley have had to play midweek, and I know they're suffering with injuries, so their squad is being stretched. This month for me is simply put up or shut up. You win games, you never know where you could be, but you have to win those games. And like I said, we're punching for what it's worth. For me as well, I don't know why there's a B there, but we need to put sustained form across all competitions together. You know, how we play in the league could have some positive ramifications in Europe, so we need to put some positivity together. Same way, going behind against Benfica and Leicester and coming from behind, there must be some correlation between the two, people. Please make sure you're hitting the like button. For me as well, again, when you're in August or whatever, you look at this period the following year where we're in now and say, listen, this is where the whole squad is needed. Like I said at the start, this is the period where we need the whole side to stand up to be counted, to have real accountability in their performance individually and be scared to let down the collective, people. When you look at Burnley, they've got 1 win in their last 5 that came via Palace. You know, they've got 3 draws, 1 defeat. The defeat came against Spurs. They drew again against Leicester last night. So, you know, that's a good point. And some of the draws, they actually have played well. So don't read too much into it. They need to start winning. And, you know, don't let Arsenal be the team to get them informed, people. As we know, they're a team happy to concede possession and be tough to break down. I do think one area you could exploit is when you press them high. You know, again, I can't even remember if they actually lost to Southampton and Leicester, but I watched these games, and if you saw it, both teams had joy simply by pressing them. Them defenders don't want it. You know, a lot of them are championship standard, if I'm honest with you. Ben, me and them man there, they don't want it. What I expect from Burnley is what I've already said, people. You know, I expect it, I expect them to be switched on from set pieces and try and exploit that. I expect them to try and play balls into the channels, into wide areas, if you don't know what I'm referring to. I expect them to use Chris Wood or whoever as a target man. I expect the likes of Ben Me and things to try and exploit from set pieces. You know, they ain't got too much tricks to the trade, but what they do maximize on, they do well at. And if we're real, they beat us in our last game. So there should be a bit of confidence. Like I said, I don't like Burnley. You know, they're up there with Stoke, in my opinion. I want them to go down. And I want 3 points, really and truly. And, you know, I rarely have comments on other teams that have nothing to do with Arsenal. Once again, I'm trying to reiterate it. Set piece, set piece, set piece, set piece. Going back to Chris Wood, how many times have we played them? You know, I remember a game a couple of years ago at the Emirates. I think we won, but we let ourselves down. I expect their midfield to cover a lot of ground. You know, Spurs ran them all over. Can we look to do something like that? Can we force them out of their team shape, which I'm going to get onto later? You know, Brownhill's been in midfield, central midfield, since other people have come into their lineup. I believe they've shifted him out wide. They're the second lowest scorers in the league. So once again, we know what to expect. They're bottom 3 for passes being played, people. You know, some worries for Arsenal. Watching the Leicester game, Chris Wood went to the back post like twice and could have probably scored. You know, you look at that. I don't know if it's going to be Cedric or Bellerin in Arteta's eyes, but you can see logically why you need to be switched on. How you deal with how you deal with threats in wide areas and crosses into the box, you need to be at it. We need to head and clear our lines convincingly. We need to watch runners because, well, I'll kind of refer to it in a sec, people. I've got the tactics board tabs open. So it is what it is. I want to see us ask good questions, you know, play the ball forward. Can I see a bit of movement, people, as well? You know, you look at the goal Kelechi and Nacho scored last night. Look how all over the place Nick Pope and Cole was. You know, it's a long ball in from Ndidi, a very good pass. He split the defense. Nick Pope's made poor decision making. My point being, you know, they're a good unit when you're sitting in front of them and playing in front. The minute you play a difficult pass and they have to communicate, there's problems. Personally, I like Nick Pope. I think he's incredibly overrated, people. Incredibly overrated. And he's very suspect. So like I said, they ain't got many tricks, but they'll maximize what they're good at, people. It's as simple as that. You need to know what we've got. They're probably going to line up in a 4-4-2. You know, again, this is where I want to see us ask questions, people, because, again, you know, this is the next tab probably explain it a bit more. They're probably going to sit back. They're at home, and I don't know what's going to happen. You're right, my guy. You're right, my guy. Ashley Barnes is ruthless. And just because I think somebody's overrated, don't mean I think he's not good, my guy. I said Nick Pope's a good goalie. I just think he's incredibly overrated, and people just bred things that happen for no reason. That's my opinion. But back to the topic at hand, like I said, I think Nick Pope is a good goalkeeper. And let's put a goalie here. We know what to expect. We know we know what to expect, people. We know what to expect. We know it's a low block. Again, set pieces and low blocks. This is what we're going into. They're not going to try and play us out the park. They're going to be difficult to break down. On the best of days, we cannot break low blocks, people. So you're going to see something along the lines of 11 men behind the ball. This is where I want to see movement. Movement's one thing. Before I talk about movement, just focus on these centre mids. They have to have the ability to find whether that's Aubameyang pulling out and making that run from out to in, or if it's Lacazette. I'd probably go with Lacazette. So I want to see movement. But if I exclude them and say these lot are midfielders for a sec, what I don't want to see, it's not that I don't want to see it, but I want everyone to be confident. I don't want it to be just the David Luizes and the Xhakas trying to find people in possession. You know, again, clearly I haven't got the full 11. I want to stretch them. You know, what can you see here? You see a compact unit. Just focus on the yellows, people. You know, you see a compact unit. Yeah, they're great. But this is where we need to split them. You know, can we get some width? Bellerin, if you play, you need to provide width. You know, our midfielders, obviously, they're central midfield. You know, Saka, who'd be in for me. Can we provide width? Can we stretch this team? Because if we can stretch this team and get 2v1s going, like what we saw with Cedric and Pepe on the right-hand side against Leicester and whatnot, you know, you're going to have a decision to make. Do they hold their shape or do they go out to you? Obviously, if they go out, you see our gaps start to open, people, you know, which Aubameyang might be able to exploit. So again, how we break down a low block is going to be very vital, something we have struggled to do. So like I said, us as football fans, normal football fans, we know exactly what to expect. We know exactly what to expect against Burnley. So these players who have played against Burnley several times know sure as hell what Sean Dyche is going to be on. Long balls, compact unit, fight for every pass. That's what Burnley are on, seeing where the game is, seeing where the game is going, people. And things like that. So it's going to be a difficult one. Again, in case anybody doesn't know, let's look at what our gaffer Arteta said. He said it's a really tough match. I think it's remarkable what the club, Sean Dykes, and the coaching staff have done in recent years with the resources that they've had, the style of play they've implemented, and how well they execute it and how effective they are. They are effective. You might not say it's not pretty. You can't say it's not effective. You can't. Again, people can criticize Burnley, with all due respect, their players, and I don't think much of necessarily all the Arsenal players, but their players are not technically as great as us. So why are they going to play against us, trying to pass us off the park? It's like when we try and do foolishness against other teams. That's their game plan. That's what they're about. And Sean Dyche has got his DNA in the team and all those sort of things. Like Arteta has said, and how many times have I sat in my preview and said, for one thing I'll give him, Arteta is blatantly saying what to expect. So these players sure as hell might as well need to know. It's always really tough to play against them. At home, it was a tricky game because we played with 10 men. We ended up losing on a set piece, which is a big part of the game. So hopefully we can have a very difficult result. Hopefully these boys watched that previous 90 minutes and have watched bits and pieces of Burnley, excluding that. So if they don't know what to expect, they sure as hell do. He said he quite enjoys going to Turf Moor because that's what the Premier League is about, going into those grounds and making it happen, being able to compete against a style that is very defined and executed to perfection. That's a big credit. Let's be honest, boring, negative football that we need to, that there's two direct contrasts. So we need to prove that we can win these games, that you're overselling it a bit, being a bit respectful, fair play. There's not one or two ways to play football. There's many ways to do it. They did it within the rules, and there's nothing that is outside of them. They do it really well. Kind of what I said earlier, you can't expect them to try pass it off the park because that's not them. He also said, from my side, they merit much more credit for what they do than what they sometimes do. It's admiration as a coach that he's able to get the best out of his group of players. The results that they have as a club to create the atmosphere they do at that stadium. It's all credit to them because they believe in what they do. I think that's really nice for English football, and that's 100% facts. Can't disagree with any of that, people. But finally, and whatnot, again, I've already spoke on Balogun. Watch out for the video coming later today, people. That's a special video for the members of my page, so we're not going to get into that. But if we go into the lineup now, folks, the dreaded lineup, I don't think Cedric is going to start, but I'd start Cedric. Where's my manners? Let's go with Leno as he picks himself in goal. For me, I'm going with Cedric. I think you pick the best players. I think he's better than Bellerin at this moment in time. I think he's shown what he can do with other players and things like that. So I think Cedric deserves to stay in the team. I think Bellerin, being one of those players that was rested after Benfica, will probably get a look into the side and all of those sort of things. So for me, it would be Cedric for what it's worth. I would keep it with David Luiz. I don't think Marie deserves to be dropped, but I think this is a game for Gabriel. Gabriel and David Luiz are quite convincing in that regards. I'd go with that. Again, another one that picks himself. Tierney picks himself. The midfield trio. Again, if Partey surely is fit. He didn't start against Leicester. He's had a week to train. For me, I'm starting Partey. I think Xhaka had a good reaction against Leicester, so I think he's done enough to retain his space. Up in the middle, I'd probably go with Odegaard. Personally, I'll go with Odegaard again. I think he was all right off the bench against Leicester. Again, I want to see, in this period, I need to see players stand up to be counted. You signed from Real Madrid, go out and show me something. Again, in terms of the front three, again, it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult to pick. But I think Saka has to come back into the team. Pardon me. It's tricky, people, because my immediate bias is to go with Lacazette, and then that's my immediate bias, people. But at the same time, part of me wants to go boom, and then bang. That's what I want, But if you're going to have Aubameyang, like I said, people, to go back to this, there's no point playing Aubameyang, and this is mainly for Arteta and the boys. There's 0% sense in playing Aubameyang if you're going to see things like this, if you're not going to he's going to be outmarked, they're going to be a tough unit to break down. They're going to be narrow. Well, obviously I'm exaggerating a bit, people, but they're going to be very narrow. You could probably throw a hat on these players, people, how close they are. Essentially, they're going to be quite narrow. Again, exaggeration, but they're going to be narrow. Now, Aubameyang's useless if you cannot break down a low block and you're not going to play it to man. You know, he's not a guy that can fight off these man. You know, if he's making these runs, someone needs to have the ability to play him. If you're not on that, then there's no point playing Aubameyang, in my humble opinion, people. But yeah, we've got difficulties there because I don't think Lacazette deserves to be dropped. For me, Saka has to come back into the team. Pepe, for me, has been very unlucky to not get substantial minutes. Lacazette, he brings the best out of the team and things, and I think he deserves to play. It's a tough one, people. It really is a tough one. I do think a game like Burnley, I do actually want it to be Lacazette a bit more. I do want it to be Lacazette, people. I do want it to be Lacazette. I think Saka's given us a positive headache. We wish we could play 12 players, people. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Because there's every merit to drop Aubameyang, sorry. But I don't think he will be. It's a tough one. You know, Martinelli as well. Good problems. You know, even based on the last game, I don't even think Willian deserves to be dropped. But do you know what? It will probably be Aubameyang, but I'm going to go with what I would like to go with at first, people. That was what I kind of want to go with, people, because I think Pepe deserves to start. There's no point having this stop, start stuff. Saka's obviously proved his worth and he's had his day off. Let's get back in the team. Lacazette, I think he'll give us, his strengths are tailored towards the Burnley team. That being said, I think Pepe be the one to be dropped out. So that would be probably my lineup, people. The only problem I have is with the front three, really. I do think you will see Bellerin back into the team. I actually think you're going to see this, really and truly. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see what do I think he's going to do there? I think he's going to go with that. Sorry, people. I think it's going to be that. I don't. It could very well be this. I don't mind Marie or Gabriel, to be fair with you, with the exception of Marie. I do think Willian and Bellerin, because they've finally given a performance to justify starting them week in, week out, if that makes sense, people. So that's what I expect in terms of a score prediction. You know, I'm gonna say 2-0 Arsenal, respectfully. You know, it's never perfect. I'm gonna say 3-1 Arsenal. Yeah, we know what we need to do. What I want to see is us break down low blocks, us not concede early and cheap goals, just put in a performance. We're at that point in the season where you know exactly what Burnley are about. You know exactly where we are. You know exactly what we need to do, people. And again, once again, when you're going into the North London derby and an informed West Ham and Liverpool's on that horizon, then you've got, you know, playing the Greek side, Olympiacos. You need to win games. You know, you can never underestimate winning games and the spirit it comes with, people. That's the lineup I think he's going with anyway. So that's that in the prediction for me. Again, like Arteta said, to have any chance of doing anything serious, you need to win games and hope for the best. Again, Burnley have injury issues, people. Apparently, they have concerns over 3 players. You know, Robbie Brady, dark arts. Very good at the dark arts, very street smart footballer, you know, the Irish international, very street smart footballer. You know, they've got a lot of street smart footballers. So you can imagine tactical fouls, cynical fouls, a lot of dark arts and things. In fact, on that as well, people, before I quickly forget, if we just switch over to say Arsenal is the defensive team, again, I'm not going to bore you lot. You lot know what crosses are, and there's 2 balls on the pitch. The ball boy needs to do his job. But just to highlight what I mean by Ashley Barnes and Chris Wood, you know, they're not going to get the ball and drive at these lot. But what they can do is win them little flick-ons and then bring in people into play, whoever is around them. For me, what concerns me is whether you can mentally just make a note, whether it's a corner, standard cross, or a dead piece scenario. What I don't want to see is this, people, you know, make sure you're assessing the crosses, because sometimes we don't. But this is the sort of thing you could see, people. Now, obviously, Ashley Barnes and Wood, let's just put both of them in there. They can compete with David Luiz and Marie and Gabriel on the best of days in the air. And so can those centre-halves. But they're smart footballers. What you don't want to see is somebody making a run to take somebody with them. And then my man is saying, oh, look, that's Bellerin. Like you used to see with Alonso against Chelsea, that's Bellerin. The ball comes in. He might not beat David Luiz in the air, but he sure as hell could pin Bellerin, who's getting caught ball watching, and then it's in the back of Leno's net. It's as simple as that. So watch the runners onto the last man, people. It's going to be a big day in that regard. So again, runners, how you deal with crosses. It's several things. We know. I'm not going to bore you lot. I'm really trying not to bore you lot on spelling things out. You lot watch football. You lot understand what exactly there is to do, people. You know, so with that, that's the end of the preview, really and truly. There's nothing more to say in that regards, people. Please make sure you're hitting the like button. What are you lot